What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to episode 4 of Get Moving. I'm your host, Coach Cala. And if you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe because this podcast is all about staying active, getting better, and improving your overall health and performance. Whether that's running, high rocks training, marathon training, or just trying to stay consistent and get moving, this is the place for it. Today, we're going to go over how to run your first marathon and even push toward that sub 4 hour goal. I've run 3 marathons now myself, and my first marathon is still my fastest ever. Not really sure how that worked out. But if you're new to the channel, please again, don't forget to like and subscribe. Just a local PE teacher from Connecticut. I try to stay active and get my students and supporters to get moving outside of school. And that's the goal for me with this YouTube channel and this podcast. If you're into high rocks training, marathon training, or any of that stuff, I'm your guy for that stuff because I'm really telling you what worked for me as a sub 4 hour marathon runner. And I do a lot too. So if you feel like you're always doing a lot and there's not people like you out there, trust me, I do a lot. I coach wrestling, lacrosse, youth wrestling, marathon train, high rocks train, and I just try to get it done and get better every day. And more importantly, get moving. Where to start for a marathon? Let's paint the picture. I never really was ever a runner. I wrestled in high school, played lacrosse in college, but I never really was into running so much. When we moved home, me and my twin, when we got back home, we were into running 5Ks a lot. I was about 25, 26 years old, and we were joking about trying to run 26 for our 26. And we were thinking New York City Marathon. Then we realized how much adversity you have to go through to run the New York City Marathon with all the obstacles in your way. You can't just sign up and run. We weren't into that. But a little background, I always try to stay in shape just in case, anyone wants to challenge me. No. I was cross training at the time. I was training at F45. Again, I'm a PE teacher at elementary school, so I'm always moving and active, trying to help them get moving. I work out quite a bit. Right now, I'm at Orange Theory. Back then, I was just at F45. I like the higher intense workouts. I'm not really big into the bodybuilding as much, even though my biceps are getting a tiny bit small. But I was never a marathon runner. I remember being at the gym and people were always talking about these marathon runners, these marathon runners. And this had to be August 1st or July. Yeah, August 1st, exactly 8 weeks out when I realized I'm going to sign up for the Hartford Marathon. Now, little background, the beginning of the summer is when the half marathon and marathon people were coming to the gym more, right? It was nice out there trying to get a pump in and then go run. So I decided to run a half by myself just on my own after a leg day workout. Again, I was so naive to all of this stuff. And I actually did it in 1:59, like 30. So I was like, whoa, I might have something here. Again, no clue how to train for a marathon. Half marathons are not a marathon. So this video will be breaking down what exactly worked for me when I ran my first marathon. And better yet, I even got it under 4. Now, running a marathon in general, no matter what time it is an incredible feat. So to everyone saying there should be a cutoff time, maybe after like the 10-hour mark or the 8-hour mark. But if you're running a marathon regardless, you rock. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Here we go. So my original plan was just to run 3, 4, 5 times a week, long runs, right? I was listening to David Goggins and Cam Hanes and all these YouTubers, but that didn't really work for me. I remember I went out for a 15-mile run the week before I signed up for Hartford, and I had to walk, and it was 1,000 degrees out. I was sweating, had a backpack on, like a real book bag, like a JanSport backpack on with snacks in it and waters, and I was like, I'm gonna go run 25 today, 26. No, that is not how that works. You need to build a base. I was walking, I was cramping everywhere. I was like, what is going on? And I was eating pretty good. I was probably about 150, 155, trying to get back down there right now. But I was eating pretty good. So I was like, all right, I know the nutrition's there. I try to take my vitamins. But what is it that I need for this marathon? Called up my uncle, who's been the best coach since, love him to death. And he pretty much helped me through this whole practice with marathon training. So step one for all of you, I would recommend getting a coach or listen to this podcast because I'm going to break down my exact sub 4 hour marathon during this time. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen and get right into it. You're welcome. So please, I'm giving away a free 8 week plan. I also wouldn't recommend running one on 8 weeks, but if you're in shape and cross training, I think you should be okay and you're running 5Ks. I think you should be okay to start 8 weeks out. You're not going to PR, even though this is my PR. We'll get into that in another podcast, but I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get right into it. So, step one, get a coach. Step two, follow the plan. I was super naive and selfless when it came to marathon training. I didn't care about shoes, or the first marathon, I should say. I didn't care about shoes, what I wore, hats, glasses, gels, clip flocks, salt, sodium, potassium. I did not care. I just wanted to finish. That was my main goal, was to finish the marathon. I think our original time was like a 4:15, and that was just to survive because I didn't really have a place to stay until my friend Stevie helped me out. Shout out Stevie. But we're just gonna get right into it. So again, this is like August 1st, and the Hartford half or the Hartford full marathon was on, or and the Hartford marathon was on October like 11th. I think it was my mom's birthday. So 8 week plan. No matter what I did before I ran, I would try to warm up 5 to 10 minutes. Not talking all the A skips, B skips, C skips. I was just making sure I was stretched out and good. So if you're listening, make sure your body's loose. Listen to your body. If it's hurting that day, maybe cut it back a little bit. I only wrote zone two after I found out what it was. During these runs, I was just trying to jog on a canal, the Farmington Canal in Connecticut, nice and easy, and make sure my heart rate never went above 143 to 155. I, at the time, had no clue what zone two training was until I looked into it after. I really wasn't into it. My uncle was just telling me, just go out for runs and make sure you're not running too hard. So I started with 5 10Ks that week. And if you're a runner, a 10K is 6.2 miles. And at this time, all I was doing was 5Ks besides the one half marathon I did in the summer, just on the first day of summer. I got out of teaching. I was like, I'm going to go run a half marathon today. And all I added was a 10 miler to finish that week. So right there is what, 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 40 miles in my first week. Even in today's world, I only run about 30 miles a week with my busy schedule, which works for me. But that was all zone two, aka super easy runs, enough that I was building a base and endurance in my legs. Week two, same thing, stretch. I did 4 10Ks, a 12 miler, and a 5K. During that 5K, wasn't running fast. I was just trying to keep it nice and light. Again, my heart rate was like 150, 153 beats per minute. I think I was jogging at like 940, 943. That's all I remember. I was like, I'm running at like a 943. Didn't have Strava. All I had was my Apple Fitness. I again was such a newbie to this. I really thought I was just going to be one and done until I got so addicted. Going into week three, 5 times a week again, 4 10Ks. This is where we started learning a little bit of the vocab. We called them pickups because I had no clue what a strider was, and I still have a hard time with all these names, but they're striders, pickups, intervals, fartlek. No, we just call them pickups for me. Just run for 30 seconds, a little bit faster during your run. I'm not talking you're at a 10-minute mile and you're going 6.5 minutes for 30 seconds. No, I was at like a 940 and I would try to get down to an 8:39 minute mile, enough to build that endurance. And more importantly, what these pickups or striders do is help fix that form while you're running. So make sure you add these in your runs. I lived in a hilly part of the neighborhood, so I would add on my own one hill workout a week, and I would try to finish on a hard hill no matter what the pace was and just finish that 10K. And again, we went right back to a 10 miler that week. So starting to pick it up a little bit, 4 weeks out, again, just 1 month away. This was my first 3 weeks. So let's see what we have. 4 5 milers and my first ever 3 hour run. I still remember it to this day. I was like, I had no fuel. All I was doing was water. And I think I was just drinking Gatorlight only because at the time I was working out so much. I was like, all right, I know I need some sort of nutrition in my body. No food, no gels, none of that stuff. Once I conquered this 3 hour barrier, I knew I was going to be good for Hartford. But again, I was never thinking sub four up until probably that week. Week five, 3 10Ks, one on hills, one 7 miler, and one 3 hour run. So after I did the second 3 hour run, I was really starting to get my confidence back quite a bit. I was like, all right, I'm tough. This is what I'm doing here and there. You know, I'm ready. I'm ready to work out. I'm ready to run this marathon. Week six, 4 7 milers, one 3 hour run. Again, all zone two or easy runs. I was never running faster than a 9:30. I don't think I ever ran under 9 minutes during this training run. I swear, I haven't touched this plan in 3 years. This was 2023, and then I ran one in 2024, just ran New York City Marathon in 2025. Yeah, so this is 3 years ago. I've never touched this plan since. Week seven, 4 7 milers, one 3 hour run, and my goal for this 3 hour run was to get 20 miles. The other 3 hour runs, I remember I hit 15, I think 18 and 16 again, because I was just trying to go slower just to build that endurance. The main thing I was trying to do was make sure my time on feet was there. If I stopped running, which was is totally fine if you're new, I was just making sure I was walking fast or walking. I wasn't trying to sit. I was just trying to finish these 3 hour runs. I knew if I could do this, I was going to be good. Let's get into week 8. 4 to 5 runs between 5 and 6 miles with pickups. Again, it helps with that overall form and endurance. And 112 or a half marathon zone 2. So I remember that Saturday, 1 week out, I did a half marathon. And I don't think I would ever do that in today's world, but maybe I will. I might go back to this plan with these 3 hour runs. Maybe I'll call my coach, my uncle up and tell him, why aren't we doing this anymore? No, I'm playing. Um, the week of the marathon, so Monday through Saturday, tapered. I did one shakeout run. I remember going to F45 and working out, and the trainer and all the clients in there were like, do not work out again here. And honestly, I don't know what I was thinking at that time. Again, I was just trying to get a pump in, make sure I looked shredded for the half marathon or for the full marathon. And oof, I would not recommend strength training during this last 2 weeks. Now, I strength trained twice, 2 to 3 times a week during this 8 week workout. Again, always at F45, so it was really cross training. But I would recommend maybe week 7, week 8, really, or week 8, week and the week of. Try not to strength train too much. Just you don't want that delayed onset muscle soreness happening. But the one thing I did the day before this marathon was we had a fun run at my school. And I don't list it here because it's a great story. And a fun run, I had to race my kindergarten students all the way up to 5th grade, and I was not losing. I was like, this is the marathon before the marathon. I ended up doing 13 miles that day. And my principal was just like, why did you do that? Why? It was either 12 or 13 miles. And then she was just like, no, you have a marathon tomorrow. I was like, I'm gonna be good, right? The step 3, the biggest thing for a beginner is to be self-confident. I was so self-confident back then. I still am, but I was so confident and new to all this that I didn't care about any of that stuff. I wasn't worried about my legs giving out, this and that, the wall, none of that. I knew I was just going to go there and do great. So that's my plan. Again, please subscribe if you're watching. I mean, this is a free plan, people. So please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm going to stop sharing my screen there. Now, on game day, I did a light 3 miler. And again, I shout out to my friend Stevie who let me sleep in his Hartford apartment. It was a 1 mile walk away. I did the night before we did a 3 miler. The day of, we walked there, and I think I warmed up for 10 minutes. Not the best move. I would suggest for any beginners learning how to run a marathon to warm up for maybe like 15 to 20 minutes. Not too much and not too hard, but just getting a sweat going. If you're going out there cold, it's not great. My sub 4 strategy for this marathon, and again, I wasn't thinking sub 4 until the day before. Honestly, I'm not kidding. All week at the gym, at my school, people were asking me, what's my plan? What's my plan? I was like, I don't know. I don't really have one. I just want to finish, 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 finish because 26.2 miles is crazy. My sub 4 plan was once I got to mile 18, I'm going to go all out. And I'm not saying run a 7 minute mile. I'm saying faster than my goal. The first 13 miles, I remember I ran with a guy, shout out him, forgot his name. But we were at like a 9 minute and an 8:30, and I felt so good. My body felt so warm. I remember ripping off my long sleeve and putting on my tank top, my calisthenics tank top that says get moving on the back. And I remember thinking, wow, I could really do this. Mile 18 comes, and I remember at Hartford, you turn a corner really, really tough. Like if you go straight, it's going to be a wide turn. So I turned it. As soon as I turned, something clicked in my head. I'm going to run so hard the next 8 miles. 18 to 22 is just a blur. I remember seeing my brother giving him a high five at 22. 22 to 24, I started doing negative splits. I was at like a 8 minute to a 7:30. And then I think I finished that last 26.2 mile at like a 7 or yeah, just about a 7:05 pace. I have to look back at my times. But I remember just thinking in my head, I'm waiting to see what this wall feels like. And I was just so self-confident in my brain that I was like, I'm too tough for this wall. This isn't going to happen. And I just started ripping it after 18. Maybe not the best idea, But I have hit the wall in my latest marathon at mile 10 from New York, and I was going way too hard for that. But that's a story for another day. I just think you need to be self-confident, start slower than your goal pace, stay controlled during it, push after mile 16. For me, I pushed after mile 18. And everyone says mile 18 to 22 are the hardest mentally and physically. So that is why it's very important to be self-confident during this marathon. If you're not confident during your marathon, maybe push it back a little bit because you don't want to get hurt or injured or hate the process because that first one was probably my favorite one just because I was so new. I wasn't worried about the shoes I was wearing. I was wearing Asics Nimbus, which are like, I don't know, 25 ounces. They're huge. I remember I bought Cliff Blocks 2 nights before, never had them before. I threw three in my mouth. Like every 8 miles, I was just eating three. I think I brought one gel that my friend gave me, and he's like, "You might need this." And he's an absolute animal. He's running 100 miles. I was like, "Okay, anything he says, I'll believe." And I remember I had Gator Light in one water bottle, a belt on with Gator Light in one water bottle, and water in the other. I chugged both of them before mile 21, and I was done the rest of it. I was just running. I had my belt on the whole time. It was still amazing. I mean, I wasn't really into the nutrition back then. All I was doing for nutrition, if you're wondering, was eating whatever my mom was making or what I was eating at home at the summer camp I was working at up until August. I was just eating whatever. My goal is always to eat more than 100 grams of protein, 110 to 150 grams of protein a day. I was just trying to feel full and keep my muscles strong. Other than that, I was just eating whatever I wanted. And that's really what worked for me. I wasn't overthinking. Again, going back to being self-confident. You got to be self-confident during this process or any process that you want to do, whether it's getting a job, starting a new physical activity, playing sports. You have to be self-confident. And that was the number one goal for me in any of my races, honestly, no matter it's a 5K or a marathon. You just got to stay tough and get moving. Now, other things that I've been asked or common mistakes that people like to say or tell me is you start off too fast. Now, I will say that is a huge mistake that people make. I even made it in the New York City Marathon. My goal was under 3:30. I was training for a year hard, and this was during wrestling, youth wrestling, lacrosse. So I was doing a lot, but that's not an excuse. I ran way too fast out to start the New York City Marathon, and I bonked at like mile 10, but still finished in 3:53, and I was very proud because not many people would finish at 16 miles hurt. So I was pumped. Not fueling properly. I think if you get into the sports nutrition world, it starts getting crazy in your head. There's just so much out there. But now I do try to rip 2 gels an hour, and my friend just gave me Tailwind for the first time, which is like the carbohydrated drink. And I'm gonna rip that on my half marathon on Sunday and see if I like it. I loved it the first time she gave it to me, so I'm hoping I will. Try not to skip your long runs. That is a common mistake. Again, maybe I had too many 3-hour runs on that first training plan. But right now, I'd probably do two before, maybe not three or four. But more importantly, try not to overtrain. If you're just going to the gym, working out, doing this and that all day, you have to relax and listen to your body and let it do its thing. Those are the biggest common mistakes I would see with people. But mainly, again, going back to being self-confident, as long as you're confident and putting that work in and staying tough, you should really be fine on your first marathon. Couple questions that have been asked, whether it's on social media or in person. Why, sorry, I just want to answer them for the sake of this podcast and just for you listening, because I'm sure I had 1,000 questions when I ran my first marathon. Oof, I remember texting my uncle every day, and he coached me for free, and I was like, "Whoa, you're amazing." Why do people fail their first marathon? Number one, that's self-confident. You have to believe in yourself to get it done. Number two, they're probably not eating enough slash not putting enough vitamins and minerals in their body. Again, I wasn't big on the gels or any of that stuff. I had no clue about it, but I always eat a balanced diet, which I always felt properly fueled when I was going to run. Number two, second question, what pace should beginners run? Time naturally and comfortably, you will be fine. On game day, you could spice it up and run a little bit faster, but during your training runs, I would do a lot of the talk tests to make sure you're breathing good and doing well on your run. Can you train with only 3 days a week? I wouldn't suggest running or trying to run sub 4 on 3 days a week. I'm sure many people have done it. I'm just talking from my own experience. Unless you're training hard, cross training and getting a lot of cardio in, doing like high rock stuff, maybe you can pull it off. I still think you would be able to finish a marathon if you're mentally tough and you have a good base. But 3 days a week to try to run a sub four, I don't know. But to finish the marathon, possibly. What happens at mile 18? This was the talk of the day. Every day I was talking to marathon runners or people I would meet. Mile 18 is the toughest. Mile 18 is the toughest. I'm a wrestling coach. I'm a wrestler. I mean, I was like, there is no way it's gonna be tougher than that. Mile 18, I smiled and waved right by the sign. Took a video of the time on it too while I was running past it. And I was like, I'm not listening to that wall. So mile 18 is just another mile. One more step. It's the next best thing. Just keep on and get moving. This is the most popular question I always get, no matter whether it's my students, fans, supporters, whoever it may be, anyone trying to start running. How do you avoid hitting the wall? Well, the first time I definitely didn't hit the wall. Second time, my marathon was on 2,000 to 2,500 feet of elevation in a small town in New York, advertised as the toughest marathon you'll ever love. I hit the wall at mile 18, not because I hit the wall. The mile 18 was a huge driveway with elevation the size of Mount Everest, it felt like. And then I ran down the hill way too fast and my legs blew up. I remember being mentally defeated there, but I remember I had one goal: try to finish the race and do whatever I can to not DNF. Because when you start something, you should try your best to finish, unless you really have to go to the hospital, this and that. But I train too many athletes and teach too many kids that good habits, and if you quit, you're gonna overthink it forever. I finished that marathon and actually got third in my age group, which is crazy. Hitting the wall at New York was tough. I hit the wall around mile 9 or 10. I ran out way too fast because my Garmin, not because I would ran out way too fast being selfish, not listening to the plan that me and my coach or my uncle talked about. The bridge had my Garmin at like 14 minutes per mile, and I started panicking. So I started running as fast as I can. I don't think I got my regular GPS service to work or the pace to work until mile 4. And I realized I was going like 6.5, 7 minutes. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was really confident that day too, because one, I was running with my twin, which was sick. But two, I ran like 7:30 for 3 hours before that 2 weeks earlier. I did an hour 36 half marathon, an hour 34 half marathon, a 42-minute 10K. I was like, I'm in great shape. I would just recommend not going too fast and having sports nutrition like a gel or a Gatorade or water on you to make sure you're properly fueled and you won't hit that wall. Another question. What is the biggest beginner mistake? The biggest beginner mistake is not trying. You have to go out there and try and, of course, get moving. What should be your longest run? I always focused on time my first marathon. If you can run 3 hours a few weeks back to back, you should be fine. I did plan a 20 miler with my coach or my uncle 2 weeks prior just to see if I can do it. But after running those first 3 hour runs, I was super self-confident. And I think that's more importantly, time on feet. That 3 hours is going to help you more than the mileage. Should you walk at any point? Of course. Why shouldn't you walk? If your legs are hurting, start walking. Get some fuel in you, stretch it out. The only thing you shouldn't do is quit. Try not to quit. Again, really appreciate you all joining me. This is only episode 4 of my Get Moving podcast. I'm really trying my best to help my students and supporters get moving. If you're thinking about running your first marathon, just start. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to get moving. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share this with somebody training for their first marathon and comment your marathon goal below. I'll catch you in the next one, everybody. Get moving.